Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agoracom in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives about recent important press releases at the company. With us today, I'm happy to have again Bernard Tudillon. He's chairman and CEO of Uragold. The company trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the stock symbol UBR, and you can find him on the web at uragold.com. And of course, you can find him on Agoracom just by searching them by company name or stock symbol. Now, for those of you who are new to the story, and from the looks of things, a lot of you are new to the story. There are more and more people becoming interested in Uragold. Here's a little summary before we get into the interview. The company is the largest holder of high purity quartz properties in Quebec. And despite the abundance of quartz around the world, very few deposits are suitable for high purity applications. High purity quartz supplies are tightening, prices are rising, and there's exponential growth forecast for the future. The company's quartz itself on one of its biggest properties was successfully tested and passed rigorous protocols of a major silicon metal producer, which confirmed that the company's material was in fact highly suited for their silicon metal production. So as a result, Uragold is now endeavoring to become a vertically integrated producer of high purity silicon metal and solar grade silicon metal, amongst others of even higher purity. That's all thanks to its worldwide exclusive license from PyroGenesis, whose technology provides the capability of providing one-step direct transformation of the quartz into these high-value products. That would potentially allow Uragold to manufacture high-value material for the same operating costs presently being paid by the current traditional producers for simply making metallurgical-grade silicon metal, which would be a huge advantage. So here to talk about that more and the company's recent press release is Bernard. Bernard, welcome to the show.
Thanks, George.
I got to tell you, I got to say before we even start, I want to thank you for being here. You're one of the most accessible small cap CEOs we have out there. You're always front and center talking to us and our audience and everybody else out there. So thanks for doing. This must be our 10th interview together. Let's get straight to the first question. On February 17th, you announced, we're going to read the title here, Uragold to commence testing of process to convert high purity quartz to solar grade silicon metal. You first started making these announcements the first half of 2015 that you're kind of doing this shift in business. It's clear the market is starting to take notice. They've been waiting for this kind of confirmation that testing is beginning. But what more important, I think everyone wants to know is how are you feeling as you prepare to officially commence testing?
I feel very confident, very good about the end result. To be totally honest, I'm not as nervous as I was last year when PyroGenesis was filing for the patent. That I think was a bigger threshold than this one. This is just a normal one. We're just heading toward reaching that goal of getting the system operational and working. As I write many times in my press release, the science that we're using is crystal clear. It's basically a proven process. This is why I was more nervous during the patent phase than during the development phase. I fully expect that we will have some kinks to work out, but I'm 100% confident we will resolve all the issues that come along with it. As we say continuously, the science behind the PUREVAP technology, the PyroGenesis moving forward is very strong. It's a known factor. You can take quartz, use plasma to turn it into metallurgic grade silicon metal. What people have to understand, the metallurgic grade silicon metal is the one that's used in the aluminum industry. It's used everywhere else. It's a $6 billion a year market. It's also a proven fact that you can take that basically metallurgic grade silicon metal, you reheat it using a plasma technology, and you make solar grade material. It's a known factor. It's a known technology. It's a process that works, and they make 6N material with that. And that's a secondary market that is only 10% of the first market, but it's a $6 billion a year market. That's the one that's growing. The silicon metal, metallurgic grade silicon metal is going to grow by 6% per year. Okay, but that growth, 90% of that growth is going to come through the solar grade business, because the solar panel business, the photovoltaic solar business, is supposed to grow by 15 to 25% a year. And in every for every watt generated in solar panel, you need 5 gram of that high purity material. So this is where the demand's going to be, so where's everything else. And the third part of the technology is the vacuum furnace, which is that piece of equipment which we just received. Basically, the science is there. You heat metallurgic grade silicium metal in a vacuum furnace, and you'll get the vaporization thing, which is the impurities get removed, because in a vacuum furnace, there's only 2 impurities that have a higher boiling point than silicium metal. I have to think about that one, continuously higher, lower. So I make a quick roundup, because as you were making the explanation, I was even going like metallurgic grades. So what are we talking about? We're basically talking about $6 billion a year business growing. And if it works, we will be able to make basically a Rolls Royce, okay, for the price you make a Lada. It's as simple as that. That's exactly what we're doing.
So we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a bit. But
and I tell people, go take a look at a new presentation. We explain that in a graph that comes out of, which gives the cost structures of all the solar grade silicon metal manufacturers. Okay, and we put a range where we think we're going to be, and visually people will understand what we're talking about.
All right. So since we're on the topic, and instead of come back to it later. That's a great analogy. You're going to be able to make a Rolls Royce at a lot of pricing, if in fact you're successful, because you did make some pretty bold statements in your press release about cost savings, both on the capital investment side, in order to, the cost to build these plants, and on the manufacturing side, the production side. What kind of advantage do you envision having? Is it as big as it sounds, or as big as what you're telling me? This kind of cost advantage, is it going to shoot you right to the top of the food chain?
Well, it will shoot us to the top of the food chain, and the advantage we have is we're scaling it up at a speed that we feel comfortable with. That's going to give us advantage, and we're scaling it up at a speed that's going to be operational next to our properties. That's really going to be one of our advantage. We're going to be taking our material, we're going to process it through our system, and the advantage, we're not talking about building a smelter, because a smelter, you build a smelter, you finish, you're sort of stuck where you are. So you got to build the biggest smelter around to get the most amount of material. I'm building an industrial plant that can be industrial somewhere. It can be close to my deposit, as long as I have electricity, which in Quebec is not a big issue. You can basically mine the deposit, transform it into high-value material. We're finished. Okay, we move the equipment somewhere else. That's already one of the advantage. When you build a smelter, it's sort of like, yes, it's a high-value material, but what's the resale value? 0. Unless somebody else wants to use it, it has no value. Ours is it's a plasma system that operates and works. So that's one of the capital cost advantage. I have a much longer timeline to basically, break it down. The other one is, as I told you, I don't need to build a mega plant. All right. To right now, just the equivalent technologies to use fluidized reactors to do this, they need to have a saline gas system next to it. So we're talking about $1 billion capital investment. Okay. I need maybe a 20,000 square foot plant, electricity, clean.
So this is a game changer. And we're getting, hopefully we're not, but this is a game, if your testing is successful as you think it is, and you're confident in that, because PyroGenesis has done this for some very big people prior to Uragold coming along, but if that's successful, you're completely changing the game, and that's almost too good to believe, but it is the case.
It is what it is. One of the key reasons why plasma process hasn't really taken off in the quartz business, even though it's been known for a long time, is that 90% of the scientists doing this, or the engineers doing this, are metallurgists, engineers accustomed to using their system in their arc furnaces, the big system. So for them, the plasma doesn't react the same way. So it doesn't work, we'll move on. I'm dealing with plasma experts. Okay? One of their key expertise is transforming waste. It sounds stupid. You're transforming waste into an inorganic material that you can overthrow on a boat in the sea. That meets all the environment criteria. You think it's sort of stupid, but that is a very important thing for the U.S. Navy. They need to have they need to have those systems in aircraft carrier. That's what PyroGenesis has done. Well, between you, me, and the four walls.
That's important to know, because I don't think a lot of people know about PyroGenesis. That's great credibility as to what they can do.
Yeah. First of all, you don't become a supplier to the U.S. Navy by doing shitty things, because if it's in the aircraft carrier, it doesn't work. They don't want to fly the technician in. They want to make sure once it starts, doesn't stop, don't bother us. Okay. You got to make sure you can train high school graduate people to operate the system to make sure it operates with one engineers that basically went to military college. That's about it. They don't want high-tech, complicated. They want something that's autonomous. That can work for a long time. That's the concept. The biggest problem that there has been in using plasma in metallurgic system is basically that. How do you make sure you got a system that's continuously feeding and everything else? Those are issues, okay, that pyrogenesis has resolved. It might sound funny, garbage in metallurgy, but fundamentally, you're taking a material, you're making it, you're using the gas to render it inefficient. Basically, you're vaporizing it, and then you're making it inert and get rid of it. They're so good at doing this that the U.S. Navy is using their engineering department, okay, to design mobile chemical weapon destruction system. All right.
Okay, don't say it's going to get us in, don't say anything it's going to get us in trouble with Homeland Security. But let's not go too far. Let's not go too far that way. Let's take it back to this. So
well, I was actually going to make my conclusion there, then we can go the other way. Okay, Uragold, by working with pyrogenesis, okay, we basically have access to that R&D division without us needing to build a big self-contained R&D department with our own expert. So that's already worth a heck of a lot of money, and that's already what we've developed. That's something now I can go out and start talking more about it because we're about to deliver the good. There you go. That was my conclusion.
All right, Bernard. So getting back now to the actual testing part of all this, tell us what's been going on behind the scenes to get the equipment and everything ready for testing, because this isn't an easy process behind the scenes.
Well, no, one of the key ingredient, other than the plasma technology, but that pyrogenesis already has it, is the vacuum furnace. It must be able to meet some very stringent quality requirements. And it must be, so basically it's not a standard off-the-shelf piece of machinery you have. It has to be a custom build or custom modified equipment. Now, whenever you modify those type of high-tech pieces of scientific, this is laboratory scale, basically every time you modify this, you need the manufacturer, because he puts his stamp on it and his guarantee on it and his ISO on it, has to make sure that it passes a series of quality assurance tests, because they want to make sure that once they deliver that equipment to pyrogenesis, it meets the criteria which they've promised it. So the machine was manufactured, and then it had to go through an extensive testing phase at the manufacturer. It finished that and was delivered to Pyro plant. Now it's going through what we call the final engineering and setting up and commissioning tests, which pyrogenesis is going to make sure that what they bought meets their criteria. And then they're going to start adding up their part of the system to it. They're going to put in energy and says, okay, everything works as it's supposed to be working in the engineering plant. Okay, guys, start bringing the sample. So, it sounds overly simplistic, but that's basically what it is.
It sounds like it's pretty. I like the integrity of that, because it's almost like you're double calibrating the machines to make sure that when you get a result, the result is true. Let's talk about this quote in the press release. I'm going to read this. You state, the dynamic test protocols call for a first series of metallurgical tests to be completed at different operational settings. What does that entail?
Basically, every impurity in quartz, okay, will vaporize and leave the SI at different temperature, okay? So we got to try to figure, and you got to try to figure out what's going to be the best operational objective to reach it, okay? This is why I'm not really worried that we will eventually get there. This is not like a standard metallurgic test. We got to figure out a complicated flow sheet. No, you put a rock in there, blast it with heat, okay, and then you get the end result. So you got to make sure it's when it's in a gaseous form. How do you evacuate all of the material? What's the correct recipe? What's the perfect size of the granular you put there? Is it mixed? Is it match? Those are all. There's so many small level of adjustment that need to be done to get the end result. Okay.
Do those variables concern you because you may run into variables that you're not anticipating, or are you anticipating these? It's just a matter of repeating.
Well, no, this is why I call it dynamic. It's not like I've drilled a hole. Is there gold or no gold? Okay? Right. It's not the same thing. It's okay. I got this gold. what's going to be my recuperation, what's the acid consumption. It's not that. We're talking about, we're putting a material that's basically going to be probably at least 2 ends pure, maybe even 3 ends pure into it. Okay.
Right off the bat.
Right off the bat. Then we got to figure out how is it going to react with everything else. And at the end, you do it. It's, hate to say this, it was like basically cooking. You know, what's the recipe? How do you adjust everything? Once you figure out all these quirky little things, then you know how it is. And you're going to say, okay, this material with this level of iron in it will react this way, that level. This is why I call it dynamic testing. It's not like, okay, we've done 2 tests and we come out, the first result is 99%. Oh, it's a failure. No, it's not a failure. It's 99%. If the material we put in was 98, we got 99. We've removed some impurities. Then, okay, how do we, maybe the second result would be up to 99.4. Or we could start off and be just bloody lucky and get, 5 N to start off with. I have no clue.
What is the goal? What is your ultimate goal of the testing phase, and what should the market be looking for in that? So is it 3, 4 N right at the beginning, hoping to go to 5, 6? What is the goal of the testing? Where are you hoping to arrive at?
The eventual goal is to get to 6N. Okay, that's the eventual goal, because that's the first market I want to attack. There's so many other markets, because there's market from anywhere from 99.5 to 99.3N. There's different markets to it.
By the way, for everyone at home, 6N means 99.9999%. So you got you got 6 nines in there. I want to make sure everyone knows that at home. So 4N is 99.99 and so on and so forth. But
yeah, right now our raw material, according to our preliminary level test, is 99.6 on average. Okay, but we did the test in the parts per million and not parts per trillion. Okay, so the difference between the two of them is that sometimes it gives you a rounded up error. And when you do the testing, it's actually lower than it is. That's why you get some kooky results at over 100% of material, and you got to adjust them at those parts per million. So that's why we got to work in the part per trillion. We're talking the minuscule level of work. This is what we're going to be doing. So I'm not overwhelmingly worried, because there's different market. There's different things that this system is going to do. Pretty soon we'll be able to start addressing the clean tech aspect of what we're doing. Okay. What people have to understand, and I still don't have the final numbers, but transforming metallurgic grade silicium metal into high purity silicium metal is an incredibly polluting process. Okay, it's not good for the environment.
Under current traditional methods.
Under current traditional system, it's not. It uses a lot of chemical, plus it uses incredible high amount of energy. I think the numbers that I've read is we're talking about 150,000 kilowatt hour of energy per ton. That is, if you understand it, massive.
It sounds big. I can't tell you. If you can calculate that at home, then you're smarter than I am.
And you got to add the other 11,000 you need just to turn the quartz into everything else. So if I do it in the first shot, and I can do it for the 11,000 kilowatt hours per ton versus 110,000, you imagine the carbon credits that we're going to be generating over.
Right.
There's so many like offshoot. Like I can talk for hours. Eventually, if you let me do, I will talk for hours. But that's another story for another day. And it's something that's I'm finally in a position when I can go talk. It's testing is coming down. March is right around the corner. Basically, in publicly traded company, that's yesterday. That's really where we are. Imagine as if we're starting a drilling program and we'll have the laboratory result in a question of 6 weeks. So people, that's really what it is. With the 6 weeks, 6 weeks is in the end of March. That's what we're saying.
Last question for you. How much more prep work do you have to go through, and do you have an ETA, or at least a rough ETA, for when it's go time for the testing, when it's actually sitting in the arc furnace and away you go? Can you even tell us that?
No, I can't tell us that. Actually, I haven't even spoken to guys at Pyro this week about where they are and where everything is. I've been more worried, more preoccupied about starting to talk about what we're doing, starting to be more active on talking to investors and getting them excited about what's going on. One of the issues we got to work on, which it's not even a complicated, it's just a reality. We got to figure out the protocol of, okay, we get the material has to be tested before it goes into the furnace. Comes out of the furnace, then we got to send it to the laboratory, it has to go. Okay, laboratory, well, we're talking parts per trillion. They got to clean the bloody machine every time around. It's all those, now we're out. It's just a question of logistical situation, moving on.
So you're kind of, there's no, they're from here on in, no speed bumps, no unforeseen things. You're just lining up all the ducks, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and getting going.
As Donald Rumsfeld was said, I know all the known knowns. I just don't know the unknown unknowns. That's what I don't know. But to be totally honest, that's the situation. Okay, all the known knowns we have under control. The unknown, I don't control.
Or you know the known unknowns, you don't know the unknown unknowns.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, because, just to end it off here, because PyroGenesis has gone through this, you're not anticipating any kind of, something's happened, and it's not like the space shuttle sitting at Cape Canaveral where they're counting down and suddenly you have to kill the countdown because an O-ring blew or something like that.
No, and to be totally honest, that's what basically, that's PyroGenesis. It's in their DNA to deal with that situation there. So that's my great advantage. I didn't have to build a team to do that, because imagine how would be my overheads right now. What would be, I'm like that. That's what kills almost every other projects. I'm just paying for my shares of the science team that I couldn't afford if I wasn't working with them, and if we didn't have this agreement where they're investing with us on that potential, in a sense, investing with us by giving us the worldwide exclusivity. Okay, they believe that we will succeed in delivering something, and it's going to be very rewarding for their shareholders and our shareholders.
And they took their first year royalty in shares, correct?
Yeah, they took the 2016 royalty in shares.
So they're probably feeling pretty good about the process. So Bernard, we're going to end it there. I love the energy. I love the information. It's fantastic. This is why you're the most accessible CEO in the small cap space right now, and you have been. And
hey, investors, if they want to call me, if investors want to call me, my phone number is at the end of the press release.
All right. Well, hopefully you're going to get a few calls. Until then, Bernard, thank you. And everyone at home, thank you for watching. You've been watching Bernard Tourillon. He's Chairman and CEO of Uragold. The company trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the stock symbol UBR. For more information, you can get to their website, uragold.com, or get to Agoracom, punch in the company's name or stock symbol to see all the information. We put it all in one place for you, as well as previous interviews that we've done with Bernard, so you can watch those as well. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Thanks for joining us, Bernard. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.